We can bring in our international affairs editor, Armen, Georgian. Armen, good to see you. The EU was extremely united in the aftermath of Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Is that still the case?
Well, I mean, the cracks appeared some weeks ago at the Versailles summit here near Paris. It became obvious that different EU countries were not willing to move at the same speed when it comes to energy sanctions. And we now have a situation in the EU, Delano, at the one end of the spectrum. Lithuania has unilaterally decided to stop importing Russian gas. That is a sovereign Lithuanian decision. It is not an EU decision. And at the other end of the political spectrum, Hungary, as you said, saying that it's willing to pay for Russian gas in roubles. But, you know, Hungary is by no means alone, actually. Austrian government officials said that if there were to be sanctions on Russian gas, that would end up hurting Austria more than it would hurt Russia. So when Ukrainian officials entreat, stop buying Russian gas, that emotionally doesn't seem to be cutting through with some EU member states. And of course, Germany, a major player in all of this, saying that while it's willing to reduce its dependence on Russian gas by the end of this year, it doesn't have the infrastructure to do that right now. It seems that the EU is kind of in a very familiar zone now that it's not really going to easily get out of when it comes to this energy question.
So cracks emerging within among the 27 member states. What about between Washington and the EU?
Well, the US can go further for the simple reason that it's less dependent on Russian energy. There was already a move towards energy independence during the Obama presidency that continued afterwards, and so the U.S. has a freer hand in a sense, I suppose. I think there is a realization, though, that is sinking in now on both sides of the Atlantic that actually that asking Europe to go even further could lead to real economic problems in the EU and in the Eurozone. We've got this presidential election now in France where the two front runners, according to the polls, are both talking about inflation, prices, what they would do about rising prices, rising fuel costs. All of this is linked in some way to the energy question in Ukraine and Russia. Doing more, if that makes Europe if that brings on a recession that then makes it difficult for the EU to provide financial support for Ukraine, that would have a sort of boomerang effect on what the EU is trying to do. So I think there's a realization in Washington that it has to be a little bit careful on this. It can push the envelope out a little bit further with individual sanctions, with these bank sanctions that we've seen since yesterday. But if the US really wants to keep coordinating very closely with the EU as it did before the 24th of February and really in the first few days of the crisis, then it's going to have to think very carefully about trying to push the EU to do a lot more.
We'll see how this pans out. Thank you very much for that, Armen.
Thank you.
Armen Georgian there.